Okay, we're going to look at a question now with weighted mean, and type of question you might see on an assignment or a test. Okay, this example, we're going to be looking at determining weighted mean. Okay, here's our question. Ross received the following marks in his geography class. He got a 53 in quizzes, a 76 on test 1, 60 on test 2, 77 on a project, and an 80% on his exam. He calculated his mean mark to be 69%. Ross was pleased that his teacher calculated the mark using a weighted mean. Explain why Ross was pleased. Show your calculations. So we're going to do that. Now we're going to calculate what his weighted mean is and compare that to the mean that he calculated. And when he calculated his mark, he assumed all of the marks to have an equal value. But we can clearly see that the quiz has very little weight in comparison to the exam, or much less weight anyway. So we're going to go through a weighted mean calculation now. And I'll be flipping back and forth to this chart. So he had a quiz mark of 53, and it had a weight of 10%. So his weighted mean, I'm going to call that WM, is equal to a 10% mark, or 0.10 of 53 for the quiz, plus test 1 had a weighting of 20%, and he had a mark of 76. So we turn 20% into a decimal, 0.20, and his mark was a 76. So that's from test 1. Test 2 is also 20%, and he got a mark of a 60. So we turn 20% into a decimal as again 0.2, and the mark on the second test was 60. The project had a weight of 20%, and he had a mark of 77 on this one. So we get 0.20 again times 77. That's on his assignment or his project. I'll just write that out properly this time. So that's on his project. And lastly, his exam was worth 30%, and he got an 80 on his exam. So we take the 30%, turn it into a decimal, 0.30, times it by his mark on his exam. Okay, so remember what weighted means. We find the weighting of each part and then multiply and then add those numbers together. We don't actually have to divide by anything here. So 0.1 times 53, that's going to be equal to 5.3. 0.2 times 76, that's going to be 15.2. 0.2 times 60, that's going to be equal to 12.0. 0.2 times 77, that works out to 15.4. And 0.3 times 80, that works out to 24. So finally, we add all those numbers together. 5.3 plus 15.2 plus 12.0 plus 15.4 plus 24.0. That gives us an overall mark of 71.9%. So using a weighted mean, his mark was 71.9. Ross calculated his average to be 69. So 71.9 minus 69, that works out to 2.9%. So why was Ross so pleased? Ross was pleased because using weighted mean, his average turned out to be 2.9% higher. So that's almost 3 full percentage points higher. I would probably be happier too using a weighted mean. So to summarize this, the weighted mean is the average of a data set when the terms of the set are not given equal value. And again, to calculate that, we multiply the value, the amount of the value times the weight of the value, and then add up all of our numbers together.